Yesterday, we spoke about how your paradigm controls everything in your life. For those that who watched my live yesterday, if you didn't watch my live yesterday, please go scroll on my timeline and see the 40-minute presentation that I did to everybody yesterday. So we all have a multitude of fixed ideas that runs our life without our awareness. And this is why, you hear yourself saying that money is hard to earn. Life is a struggle. Times are tough. It's not you who's saying that. It's your paradigm that's controlling you. And it has a 95% impact on all the areas in your life. And this is what I showed to you yesterday. And then we spoke about money, how your money identity determines what it is that you can earn, your behavior around money, how you perceive money, the things that you do with money. And then I also spoke about ideas and see your money identity comes from the ideas that you picked up from your early childhood about money. And these came from the assumptions and behaviors that you saw people portraying in your environment. So this is how your money ideas are formed and eventually they impact your results. All right. So if you're somebody who's struggling to earn more, who's struggling in your business, in your career, I want you to know that it's your paradigm that's actually running your life and you have no idea about. And today I'm going to continue with a discussion around what are these other elements in your paradigm that are determining. Now, I want you to understand something that whether you're successful or not, your paradigm is always playing a part. So if you are somebody who's already successful, I want you to understand that you are known as an unconscious competent because you're not aware that your paradigm is actually leading you to your success. So you are somebody who picked up ideas around wealth, success, earning money easily because you grew up in such an environment. A very good example is people who are business owners of family businesses, who have been prospering for many, many years over time. So these are people who just grew up in an environment where they kept seeing success. So if you are somebody who's very successful and who's not facing any kind of a challenge in your life, in your business, in your career, then I want you to know that you are known as an unconscious competent because your paradigm is already automatically, your autopilot system is set to success, wealth, all right, and doing well. So for those of us who may be struggling, all we need to do is we need to change that paradigm. But today I want to talk about creating the identity because your identity, and when I talk about identity, I'm not talking about the person that you're known as externally. All of us talk about identity to reflect our name, our status, our position. No, your identity actually sits in your subconscious mind. And this is what's determining how far you can go in your income, your business, your career, in your life. So I want to talk about creating the identity of the person that you wish to become based on the goal that you're setting for yourself. So if you want to earn in millions, you want to achieve that client or revenue goal, you want to get that position in your career, in your job, or you want to open that business, for instance, how do you start thinking from that place? See, most of us have a habit of still thinking from our current circumstances. So I can't open that business because I don't have the money. I don't have that capital. I don't have that funding. And this is where your goal is. This is what you want to earn. Remember yesterday I taught you how to write down your goal in one statement. I'm so happy and grateful now that I earn $100,000 easily and continuously. Do you remember that? So if you didn't watch my live yesterday, please scroll down to my timeline and watch it, all right? Because this is a continuous sequence. But if you're here tuned in, you can still listen to what I'm saying, all right? So I'm talking about the identity, creating the identity. You've got to think from the place that you want to be at. So how would that person act? What kind of investment would they make, right? What kind of funding would they get? So you make a decision and then things start falling in place. Because the truth is that you can do have anything that you want, but you currently have outdated ideas about who it is that you are. Now, these ideas have formed your truth, but that's not who you really are. Your identity is a reflection of the ideas you have bought into about yourself. But the question that you need to ask yourself, which most of us don't ask, is that according to who? Who actually made us buy into these ideas? Have you ever thought about that? There are people in your environment, or your environment made you think that you're a certain person, but that's not who you really are. The truth is that you can become anything, anybody you want. Have you ever thought about that, right? So, according to who are you this person? Now, your ideas about yourself come from both your childhood and your adult experiences. So these are the things, these are the ideas that form your stories. It's simply a conditioned awareness. So there's nothing wrong with you, no matter how things look on the outside. I know we are all here to do better or solve some kind of problem, isn't it? You don't be tuned in if you aren't facing a challenge. But the great news is that you aren't the problem. Now, when I heard this, it was the best news ever for me. So you're simply looking to evolve to the next level in your life. So you are down here and you want to be up here. It's that simple. So you can simply change the ideas about you and you will start doing things differently. So first, before we change the ideas that we have about ourselves, we must become aware of our current identity. So number one, what are the things that enable us understand what our current identity is? The first one is our current results. Whatever results we have in our life, our relationships, our health, our business, our performance, our job performance, our income, it's a direct reflection of our identity. So what is it that is happening in your life? What are the outcomes in your life currently? And those are they reflected by your identity. So your results are nothing but a reflection of your current identity. So you know what your current identity is based on these things that are happening in your life. So if you want to earn 10 million, but you're earning a million, it's because your identity is stuck at a million. So your identity is not at 10 million. That's why you're not earning it. Haven't you noticed those people who easily every month earn effortlessly the amount of money they really want to? And I want you to understand that this has nothing to do with your external circumstances. Everything is run by your paradigm. All right. The number two thing that can help us understand what our current identity is the way we execute our tasks. So ask yourself, do you procrastinate? That's nothing but an identity. You've accepted the idea, and that can be switched in a moment. So, what daily routines do you never compromise? What do you keep doing daily, yet it doesn't give you the results? So, that's a reflection of your identity. That's who you are. And when you noticed how when we wake up in the morning, we just automatically start doing certain things. Now, if you're a salesperson, you may also have a habit of, contacting a certain number of people. Maybe you have a certain strategy that you're using in your business, and it may not necessarily be working, but because it's become your identity to execute that specific strategy on a daily basis, that task execution is your identity. You do it anyway, whether it's giving you the results or not. So that's another way we can identify ourselves. We can understand what our identity is. Now, number three thing that can help us become aware of what our current identity is our inner conversations, the language and the stories that we tell ourselves on a daily basis. So what do you talk about yourself? Now, most of us are not aware, but our mind is constantly chattering. You might think that you're doing something, but just sit and observe. Just observe when you're maybe doing some work on your laptop, when you're driving your car. You're even when you're having a conversation with somebody, you'll see your mind is still having some chattering at the back. So you're always talking to yourself. Your mind is always talking. So there's always some inner conversations happening, which you may not be aware about. Now, your inner conversations are a reflection of your identity. So ask yourself, do you talk more about struggle or possibility? Do you describe yourself by your past roles, your achievements, or your failures? Or are you talking about yourself from down here, or are you talking about yourself from up here? Or are you talking about yourself from who you're becoming? So take note of repeated phrases like, I am the kind of person who just does this. I could never do XYZ. Because these are the phrases that point directly to our identity. So we tend to form our identity based on our past or current experiences, which form the stories we tell ourselves. Now, a very good example that I'd like to share with you is that I always heard entrepreneurs online posting that relatives will never be your first customers in your business. Well, if you tell yourself, then that becomes your truth, right? When your inner conversations are about, oh, but this person will never buy from me, that person cannot afford my products, then that becomes your truth, your reality, all right? Because that's the identity that you're operating from. Now, for me, interestingly, my own family were my very first clients of this material. So it just really depends on the ideas that you accept about yourself. Your business, your clients, your job, and your colleagues. What are the ideas around these aspects in your life that you're accepting? You really need to sit and reflect within yourself. So to shift your identity, you have to start thinking from the place you want to be, not from down here, meaning the person that you want to become and the millions that you like to earn. You got to fuse the amount with your paradigm. Remember, your paradigm keeps you down here and you want to be up here. So you've got to fuse your paradigm with that idea. And this is exactly how I landed my $30,000 business opportunity. Now, I come from a family, where we were financially challenged in the past. And, I was in very many jobs and I kept jumping them. I was never happy with any of the jobs. Now, jumping job means my income was inconsistent over the years. So every time I'd had a sabbatical, my savings would run out because whatever money I earned in the last few years, I'd use it up during my sabbatical, which is understandable, right? Because we do keep savings for emergencies like such things when we don't have jobs, for instance. Now, I met my mentor Bob Proctor in 2021. And at that time, I was working for an Australian company online, and my pay was not all that. It was quite a low level, actually, to be honest. So when I met Bob Proctor, and he said that we could teach this material to other people through his organization by becoming certified consultants with him. He said that the investment to become a consultant in his company would be $30,000. That was nowhere near what I had in my bank account. All right. So what did I do? I simply shifted my identity to fuse with the idea of being the owner of this $30,000 business opportunity. And I started thinking from that place, and inspired ideas came to me. And guess what? I happened to get this business opportunity without investing the $30,000 in it. So, can you believe that? I was operating from here, not from down here. When I learned this concepts with him through his processes, I fused my subconscious mind, my paradigm, with that idea of becoming the Proctor Gallagher consultant. So his institution is known as Proctor Gallagher Institute, and I am a consultant with them. They're a globally renowned organization. That was something that was out of my radar because also, again, when we live here in East Africa, such things are not heard of because we don't identify ourselves with such renowned personalities globally. We always think of what we can do with what is within our means because that's what people are used to doing. So I was thinking from that place. I fused my paradigm with that $30,000 business opportunity, and it came to me without having to invest the money. How did that happen? That was not by chance. That is how the law works. When you fuse your identity with the person that you want to become, it must come to you. So now let's start thinking. Let's start talking about how can we think from that place rather than from down here. All right. I'm going to share some of the things that I did. Now, let's say if you want to earn 1 million, all right, you are down here, let's say earning 200,000 or 500,000, and you want to earn 1 million. So we've got to think from that place. So I want to ask you, if you are a business owner, how do you feel about selling? Are you shy of presenting your products? Are you confident about approaching prospects, or do you wait for sales to happen to you? Do you drive conversations from a place of accomplishment and success, or are you focusing on challenges or how bad things are when in conversation with others, right? What is your identity as a business owner? How are you operating at the physical level? Do you lead from a place of confidence, or are you also skeptical when you're talking about your revenue targets, or are you instilling fear in your teams, right? Yet you're expecting results. Are you operating like the person who already earns the million, or are you operating from a person down here, right? And also, when you are somebody who wants to earn money with ease, taking time off, rest is very, very important. So ask yourself, do you feel guilty about taking time off? Because that's simply an idea that you have bought into because of the conditioning that you have, and this has formed your identity. So you don't have to overwork if you want to get to that million. It's not true. It's simply a shift in identity that will help you earn that money before you have to start working harder. You don't have to work harder. You simply have to match your identity to the person that you want to become. Because I know owners of big companies that take time for their well-being, fitness, and rest. So also a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that you are the most important to you. There's nothing that's more important to you than yourself. So would it even make sense to run a business if you don't feel well? I don't think so, right? Now let's talk about career. Now, what identity are you holding when we talk about people who are in jobs? who are on the path of their career growth? Are you working like that person who already has that promotion or the desired salary? Or are you thinking from your current place, yet you're expecting the promotion? That's never going to happen because there's a gap, there's a mismatch, right? So, for both business owners and people who are in jobs, are you making decisions from that place, right? When we talk about financial decisions, operational decisions, are you making decisions from the place of the million? Or are you making decisions from your current circumstances, hoping that things are going to change? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that I'm only talking about a million to put things into context, to use it as an example. This can apply to any amount. Whether you're thinking 100 million, 20 million, 50 million, the work that you have to do from within yourself is the same. It doesn't change. What you're only going to change is the amount, your goal that you're targeting at. All right. So I want you to understand that the frequency of hoping and wishing will only keep you in the waiting state because the universe simply responds to what you put out, right? So the secret is to live from the end, meaning you've got to think, feel, and act from the person that you wish to become. This is not about sitting and hoping and wishing that things will change one day. No, you've got to show up like that person. And what does that mean? It means you've got to think, feel, and act like the person that you wish to become. All right. Now, another thing about identity that I want to talk about is what places do you show up at, both from a professional and personal perspective? Who do you surround yourself with? Right? Are you surrounding yourself with those who are focused on success and speak of possibilities, or are you constantly focused on challenges? Haven't you noticed when we go out there, all people talk about is what happened on the news? This taxation rate has been imposed, it has been increased, or the economy is in a very bad state. Do you want to do you want to associate with people who talk about possibilities rather than challenges? Where are you acting from? Are you acting from down here, or are you acting from the place, showing up at places and with people who match your goal? Or are you still interacting with people who match your current identity? You've got to move to the identity of the person that you want to become. And then another thing that will help you shift your identity, what you need to ask yourself is, do you hire, delegate, and outsource like that person? Or are you still seated and you want to do everything by yourself? Do you behave like the person who wants to expand? Then again, how do you feel about money? Are you anxious, or do you freely circulate and invest like that person? Because a person who wants to earn 10 million will not be uh, investing like the person who earns half a million. It's not the same thing. So if you want to move from half a million to a million, 10, 20 million, you've got to invest like that person. You've got to behave with money like that person. All right. So the idea is to embody these traits so can become that person. Embody simply means you tell yourself, I am that, and you feel it in your body. This is how your spirit, body, and mind align. You know, we operate on three planes: spirit, mind, and body. If there's a misalignment, that is where you don't ever get the results, right? So when you align through your spirit, mind, and body, you will start acting like that person naturally, all right? And this is what identity is about. Now, another thing that I like to talk about is fear. You know, when we are trying to elevate our business, our jobs, our careers, and we are trying to earn the amount of income that we've never earned before. The biggest thing that gets in our way, ladies and gentlemen, is fear. I want you to understand that fear largely comes as a result of your self image or identity. And that's why I decided to discuss that first. Now, your fears are half solved when you work on your self image. So the two are related, all right? Now, when I transitioned into my current business, my biggest fear was investing in myself, right? Working on myself, because I did have to make a smaller amount of investment with Bob Proctor in order to get the 30,000 business opportunity. So the $30,000 business opportunity came to me without investing in that business, but I had to invest in myself to shift my identity, to overcome my fears, to change my behavior around money so that I could get into that frequency of the $30,000 business opportunity. All right. So I was saying that before I transition into this business, I did come across the fear of investing in myself, of putting money into the course that Bob Proctor was offering me so that I could make these changes. Fears around money. not having the time and getting the results. I had my doubts that will I get the results after I invest this money. Now, after I transition into my current business, I also encountered fears again. So I want you to understand that you are going to face fears at every level of your growth. It's not that one time you overcome your fears and that's it. No, you are going to be facing them at every level of growth. All right. So some of the fears that I encountered when I opened my business, number one, what will everyone who knows think of me? Now remember, I had formed an identity of working in the corporate world. I had worked in several marketing jobs and that's how people knew me. So this would be a complete change. So that's one of the fears I faced. Number two, would I earn enough to support myself? Because not earning enough was definitely my biggest fear. And then when I thought of expanding my business, I was afraid, how would I handle all these clients? And of course, initially, there was a lot of fear about being judged around sharing the results of my clients and my own results, because it's not very common to keep sharing results, considering the culture that I come from. All right, especially money results. So I come from an environment where we don't talk about wins so openly. So that was another fear that I faced, and I overcame it. And I do this very openly now. All right, because I know that my clients are always succeeding. So I'm very happy to share the results publicly. Now, I learned how to change fear into excitement through the process that I underwent with my mentor, Bob Proctor. So he offered me a structured paradigm shift process that he took me through. And this is how I took a leap in my life. So that fear of investing in myself was there. But Bob always told me that you've got to think from the place you want to be, not from where you are currently. And I was able to overcome it. And that is why I'm able to do what I am doing today. I'm living a happy and fulfilled life. And so can you do the same for yourself. All right. Now, a question I want you to ponder over is that have you ever given a thought to the person who discovered light, right? Now, they would not have discovered light, would they not have experienced darkness? So I just want you to know that if you are feeling any sort of darkness or resistance through fear, you can simply use it as an opportunity to propel you forward. Because when you're not uncomfortable in your life, in your job, in your business, in your career, it means you aren't growing, right? It means you've just plateaued. So fear is a very good sign, yet most of us want to run away from it. That's what we do. When fear hits us, we tend to avoid it. We run away from it, right? But remember, if you're not feeling fear in your life, that means you've plateaued. So when you feel fear, it's actually a great sign. It means you should actually go for it rather than avoiding it. Now, the question is, why are we afraid? Why do we feel fear? The answer to that is nothing but your paradigm. Remember, I spoke about the paradigm yesterday, right? It has a 95% impact on everything in your life, and it doesn't want you to. Remember, I spoke about the autopilot, right? So, your paradigm is an autopilot system in your mind. What it does, it wants to keep you at the same level. When you try to push it up, it brings fear and it keeps you down. It keeps you hanging at the same level in your life. And that's why a lot of us are not able to move to the next level with ease. We are stuck in a certain place, right? Because your paradigm is taken over. It creates discomfort, it creates fear, right? So, what it does, because it wants you to stay in the same place, it tries to protect you by causing you to worry, doubt, right? We experience a lot of doubt, worry, and fear, isn't it? When we want to do something we've never done before. But guess what? There's no growth there. Now, I just want to explain to you a very simple concept about fear. I want you to understand that fear is just a mind game. It just creates resistance because it doesn't want you to go outside your comfort zone. Now, how does it do this? So, in essence, fear does not exist. This is the reality. So, I want you to think of my hand, as you can see hanging here, as your current paradigm. So, this is your current multitude fixed set of ideas that are controlling your life, right? Now, when you bring in a new set of ideas, when you have a light bulb moment and you say, I want to do this in my life, I want to achieve this, you introduce the new idea to this current set of ideas. And this is like water and this is like oil. Oil and water, when brought together, will never mix. There's a repulsion. And this is exactly in your system what you experience as fear in your mind. It's nothing but a repulsion of your paradigm is repelling the new idea. So there's a bit of a fight, and you experience this as physical symptoms in your body. You feel anxious. You feel, some people start sweating. Some people want to run away from that place, right? Some people want to back out. Some people start getting headaches. Some people start feeling butterflies in their stomach. So fear is non-existent. It's simply a repulsion of your old and new ideas in your mind. And your paradigm is extremely resistant. So it will try and fight the new ideas as much as it can. But your job is to make sure that you ignore that and execute your new idea anyway, so that your new idea becomes your new paradigm. It takes you over until fear does not exist in your system at all. So the answer here is just to do whatever it is that you fear the most, and you'll never feel fear about it at at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is very important. So as I said, fear is a mind game. It creates resistance because it doesn't want us to get out of our comfort zone. Remember, the paradigm wants you to stay where you are, right? So I'll give you a few examples of things that we don't do because of fear. We don't ask for that promotion. We don't launch that business, right? We don't go out and sell our products enough. We don't make life-changing decisions. We procrastinate. We keep saying, I'm not ready. My kids need me. My family needs me. My job is too busy. I can't do XYZ. We don't want to delegate because we have the fear of letting go. And this eventually leads to burnout, right? And we also worry about what other people will think of us, what they'll say. So that is a fear that also overtook me in the beginning, and then I overcame it thanks to Bob Proctor, right? So I want you to understand that fear is like a monster in the closet. Like, it's fake. Remember when we were kids and we'd go to sleep and we'd imagine this monster or a scary doll, in the cupboard, which would think it would wake up and start talking to us in the middle of the night, or it would come towards us. And it's the same doll we'd play with during the day, and it would not seem scary at all during the day. So that's what exactly fear is. It actually does not exist. It's just the ideas that we entertain that create it. Now the question is that why, if you aren't in danger physically, then what are you afraid of? That's what you need to ask yourself, right? You're not in danger physically to make that next move, to open your business, to ask for that promotion, to invest in yourself. Then why are you afraid? It's like a child on a bike, right? When a child is trying to learn how to ride a bike, haven't you seen how many times it fails? It falls from the bike, but it gets up and it does it anyway, despite any criticism. So don't worry about judgment and criticism. In your life, in your career, in business, if you're too worried about being judged or criticized, then you're not going to be able to do it. But the question is, do you really want to do it? How long do you want to wait? How long do you have? How old are you? These are the questions you need to start asking yourself. So think of the worst case scenario, right? What's the worst thing that will happen if you go and work towards it? Bob told me that, Shalini, if you decide to invest in yourself, what's the worst thing that will happen? You will not get the results. You will not. You will have lost that money, but you will go back to your job and keep working anyway and will recover the money. That was the worst case scenario. But guess what? It did work for me. It always, always works. You've got to also go with the belief that it will work, and it will definitely work, right? So I want you to understand that if other people are criticizing you, it does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. Because on your deathbed, are you really going to care about what people thought of you? Absolutely not. Will you be worrying about how much money you spent on your growth? Absolutely not. You have billions of people to serve through your work, right? So you've got to take that step. Whatever it is that is stopping you, you've got to just do it. Now, another thing I want to talk about is fear of rejection. Now, this is something that really stops us from implementing new ideas. So I want you to be like a child, try different ideas and get there anyway. Now, my fear was of losing money when investing in myself, as I said, and that's what Bob told me. Think of the worst case scenario, that you lose the money and you go back to your job. And the best case scenario is that I'll win and achieve my goals, which I did, right? So that brings me to fear versus faith, because I had the faith. It happened for me. Now, fear and faith both need the same amount of energy. And your paradigm, your subconscious mind accepts objectively the one that you feed it with. Remember what I said yesterday, that your subconscious mind can only accept ideas. It cannot reject ideas. All right. So whatever you feed your subconscious mind it will take anyway, right? It will just take it. So you've got to feed it with faith. Because fear is an assumption that you will lose the money, your business idea will not work, people will criticize and reject you. And faith is an assumption that your investments will yield returns, your business will succeed, prospects will convert, and you will receive that promotion. So society teaches us it's better to be safe than sorry, but that does not work in business. The truth is that you get what you assume. Start assuming it will work and it will definitely work. Now, when you realize that you're scared of a decision, you have to identify something on the other side that will move you towards your goal. Because there's always a benefit to you and to the people around you when you overcome fear. There's always a bigger purpose that's playing out when you overcome your fear and do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. All right. In 2014, ladies and gentlemen, I was very frustrated with my corporate life. I was not happy about the way things were going in my life. And I sat down with myself. I still have this piece of paper. So there are two questions that I asked myself in 2014. The first one was, why do I want to change? And the second question was, why do I want to improve my life? I did a very deep introspection about my life. And these are the answers that I came up with, which I'm going to share with you today. This is something very personal to me, but I believe that a lot of us are not happy about the way things are going in our life. So we need to really ask ourselves, why do I want to change and why do I want to improve my life? So I'm going to share the answers that came up for me. Number one, I don't want to feel stuck anymore. Number two, I don't want to feel that everyone is growing and I am not. Because I saw everybody around me prospering and I didn't want that. I also wanted to be with them, right? Then I wanted a different life for my family. Then I wanted a different future for myself, my family, and for the people around me. I always wanted to become some kind of a coach since the year 2014. I just couldn't place my finger at what it is what kind of institution I wanted to be associated with. So I wanted a different future where I could impact myself, my family, and the people around me, a community at large. And then I didn't want to keep feeling the same way that I was for the last 15 years. Since I started, my school, my high school, my university, my corporate life, I just didn't want to keep feeling that way, the unhappy person that I was, right? So this is why I wanted to start making changes. And then I didn't want everyone to go through what I went. And that is exactly why I do what I do. Now, I was extremely frustrated, ladies and gentlemen. But what I want you to understand that it took me 7 years to drag this change because my introspection started in 2014. And it's not only until 2021 that I met my mentor, Bob Proctor, and all this started happening for me. So there was a lapse of 7 years. Now, it took me that long. It doesn't have to take you that long. That's what I'd like you to understand. And it took me very long because, of course, my paradigm was getting in my way. And I couldn't think properly about how I wanted to start helping others live a better life, create a better life for myself and my family. So it's only after I made the decision to invest in myself that I got 100% clarity in terms of what I wanted to do. Not only that, I actually started doing it, all right, which I'm doing now, as you can see. Now, I have tried many strategies. I tried to educate myself online. I tried to update myself, but I kept gathering knowledge for those 7 years without any change. Now, do you feel that you're exposed to a lot of knowledge, but you don't see considerable results in your life? I really want you to reflect on this. Do you feel that you're exposed to so much knowledge, but you don't see any considerable change or results in your life? Right? Your income doesn't change, you're not happier, you keep recycling the same experiences in your life. So remember how I showed you that your subconscious mind, your paradigm controls 95% of your life, career, and business success. It's so what it does, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how much knowledge you try to gather, it just sabotages your results and execution of the strategies. Because until you don't shift this paradigm, it's down here. Until you don't shift it to match where you want to be, nothing really changes externally. So once you shift this paradigm, you start becoming magnetic to opportunities rather than you chasing opportunities, right? So The most important lesson that Bob taught me, my mentor taught me, was that if you are someone who wants to start learning how to live a life of ease, you have to know how to make decisions. All right? Because God placed great stuff on the other side of decision making. Decision making is a very, very important aspect in your life. And I'm not talking about making decisions from facts, data, from fear. No, I'm talking about making decisions from a place of confidence, faith, from knowing that this is going to work for me. All right. So Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, where he interviewed about 500 business owners over a span of 20 years to learn their source of success. Now, there were 500 business owners who are prospering during the times of the Great Depression in the 1930s, right? There were people who were suffering, were not doing well, which were the masses. But there were certain business owners who are making money in millions of dollars, regardless of the Great Depression. So this is where Andrew Carnegie commissioned Napoleon Hill to go out and find out what is the secret to their success. And that's where he came up with a book called Think and Grow Rich. Now, for those who are familiar with it, and even for those who aren't, that's fine. If you refer to chapter 8 in the book Think and Grow Rich, he speaks about decision making, where he says successful people make decisions quickly and don't change them, right? So I want you to write down, or really reflect as you're watching this. How do you make big decisions? Do you make them immediately or quickly, or do you go asking others, meaning slowly, especially asking people who never achieved what you wanted to achieve, right? So, what kind of a decision maker are you? Now, I wanted to become a Procter Gallagher consultant, and I didn't have the $30,000 investment. It totally scared me, and I didn't have the money at all. And guess what? I didn't even tell anybody, including my own family, that I was trying to work towards this because I knew they would think I'm crazy, right? And my paradigm kept questioning me, how will this be possible? But I knew that it was right for me. The minute I made a decision, my mind became resourceful and started giving me ideas. So I got the idea of investing in the mentorship with my mentor, Bob Proctor, because I knew that would help me getting closer to finding a way to get the $30,000 for my consulting practice. All right. And I was absolutely terrified of making that investment. All right. But I recovered it in 6 months straight because guess what? I was actually granted the consulting practice for free. So events, people, situations, and resources panned out in such a way that I ended up meeting a lady called Cynthia Kersey, who runs a foundation in Kenya. So she's based in the US, but she runs a foundation called the Unstoppable Foundation that actually builds villages from scratch for developing countries. Now, Kenya is one of the developing countries where the Unstoppable Foundation has projects. So I got talking to her and I told her that I want to become a Procter Gallagher consultant, and I have actually invested in Bob's mentorship program so that I can get the money in order to become a consultant with his institution. So, she had a conversation with his team, and they decided to grant it to me for free without any questions, right? Because they wanted me to be that person to bring it to Africa. So, can you see how that decision of investing with Bob aligned me with my $30,000 opportunity, my goal, and situations panned out in such a way that I did not even have to fish out the $30,000 at all, right? And I got this opportunity. So with a $7,500 investment, I got something worth $30,000 in return. So I received 4 times the value back, right? So this is what I learned from Bob in my own experience about decision making, ladies and gentlemen. High learners make decisions based on the return on investment and not what they're spending now. And that's exactly what I did. So to get a 30,000 opportunity, I just invested a quarter of that amount. And because I was thinking from my investment and not from where I was at that time, I aligned with it and it actually happened for me. All right. And decision makers borrow if they must, knowing that they will recover it. All right. Now, most people are very afraid of debt. I want you to understand that whether you are in debt or whether you're using your own money, either way, you're circulating some money. So it's just that in debt, you're circulating somebody else's money. So when you remind yourself that you are circulating money anyway, you still come from a place of abundance, from a place of knowing that there's still presence of money in your life. And you won't feel the burden of that debt. So whether you're circulating your own money or somebody else's money through debt, it doesn't make a difference, because the idea behind it all is that you're still circulating money. All right. So decision makers still borrow if they must, knowing that they will be able to recover it, because they are in the vibration of circulating the money. They're not thinking that they owe somebody money. So do you understand the difference, right? And then decision makers ask, do I feel that it will take me towards my goal? If they know it will, then the answer is yes. And then they trust themselves. They make their own decisions. Now, one thing I really want to point out here is that, ladies and gentlemen, we tend to consult people when we are making decisions, especially people who love us. Now, I want you to understand that your goal comes from you, it comes from your spirit. Remember, you're meant for expansion and fuller expression. All right. Now, what your goal is, what your desire is not something that the person even next to you understands. This is the reality. Your spouse, your siblings, your friends, your colleagues, your family may not understand what it is that you really want, because it comes from you, it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to any other person. So we have a habit of making decisions from consulting people, but high level decision makers make their own decisions. Now, I'm not saying that you need to cut people out. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm saying that you make decisions from where you want to be. All right. And when we consult people, they are likely to project their fears on you, because they don't understand your goal, and they'll automatically think about the how. All right. So, and it's not their fault, because they don't want you to feel disappointed. They don't want you to get hurt. And that's why they'll try to protect you through their own fears. But you must start making your own decisions based on what it is that you really want. Because what you really want belongs to you. Nobody else understands it. And that's a reality. And that's one of the first things Bob taught me, that Shalini, start learning how to make your own decisions. All right. So learn to trust yourself. And that brings me to how you can actually make very powerful decisions. Now, most people use logic, data, facts to make decisions. High level decision makers make decisions using their intuition. Your intuition is your inner voice that speaks to you in the first 5 seconds. When somebody asks you something and you know within the first 5 seconds the answer is yes, that's your intuition speaking to you. That's always the correct answer. Now, when you pass the 5 second mark, your paradigm kicks in automatically without your knowledge, because your paradigm controls your logic. So, what it does, it limits your decision making capacity. It starts giving you alibis as to why you should not do something. The fear, doubt, worry starts creeping in, and you will most likely not make the right decision. All right. So it's a feel versus analysis paralysis. All right. Your paradigm paralyzes you with analysis, but you must listen to your intuition, which is the voice that speaks up in the first 5 seconds. When you have a decision to make and you immediately hear whether it's a yes or no, that's your intuition speaking. So high level decision makers make decisions using their intuition, not their logic. All right. And then the most important one again is that they make decisions from their future identity and not where they are currently. If you are somebody who is stuck, the only reason is because you're not making decisions from where you want to be. You are making decisions from where you are right now. And that's why you're not able to close the gap. All right. So if you want to earn 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, 50, whatever your number is, you've got to start making decisions from that place, not from where you are. All right. So once you make a decision, the how automatically shows up. The mind jumps onto a different frequency. So winners make decisions from what they want, not from where they are. So a reminder that there's a difference between being interested in what you want to achieve and being committed to what it is that you want to achieve. I was extremely committed to become a Procter Gallagher consultant, no matter what. I made a committed decision. I made the investment and I went for whatever it is that I wanted. So today, I'd like to invite you to make a decision, to take this opportunity to join me on my 6-month group mentorship, where I will be sharing the exact techniques of how I landed my $30,000 business opportunity without having the money. All right. So we will be meeting every week on a Tuesday. We start on 6th of September, which is next week, from 7:30 to 9 p.m. in a group setting online on Zoom for the next 6 months. All right. Now, this is for you if you are fed up of working hard with little or no results, Or if you're looking for a breakthrough in your job, in your business, in your career, or finances, and you want to do it with less effort, you want to stop the struggle, you want to stop working hard, then I would love for you to join me. And I will be putting the details of my mentorship. The link will be in the caption and in the comment section. All right. So I would love to have you as part of my community. And I'd love to get to see you achieve your goals with less effort. All right. Just a note that the registration for this 6-month group mentorship ends on Friday, this Friday, 5th of September. So please do get in touch should you have any questions. And I want to thank you for being here for the last 2 days. And I look forward to seeing you on my group mentorship.